country, individually or collectively, is really up for socialism?
Well, Guatemala elected a socialist president and
Guatemala?
it was crushed by America.
Okay.
It was crushed by America, so the Guatemalans no. Same thing happened in Chile. So other countries, the Congo, the Ghana, loads of places across Africa, and these communist socialist governments were crushed by American and British involvement. So it's hard for us to know whether socialism would have thrived because it was so suppressed.
An ideology that is meant to be beneficial to the people, it should have within its infrastructure the way and the means to protect its interests. So that ideology should be equally, if not more powerful than capitalistic ideologies of America or other states. If you think about it.
Yeah, America had
an ideology. Look, an ideology is something that is
ideology has money
just to clarify that. An ideology is a construct that is deep-rooted in the head, in the brains, in the intellect. So if you are convinced you can put this resource into play, you can be a billionaire and a millionaire, and if you're like-minded people, you can drag all these resources for your ideology. So if that ideology was so strong, you should see the ideology should have inherent contingency mechanisms to protect its interest and to expand its interest. The fact that we are not seeing that means the ideology is really somehow deficient in its overall paradigm.
Ideology is good enough, it will survive and spread.
No, what I'm saying is, if an ideology is such a convincing ideology, like you give an example of, the socialist ideologies based on consequentialism and so on, where this is how people can thrive and people can develop and improve and so progress. If that is such an ideology which is deeply accepted in the psyche and the intellect of the people, it should have that paradigm which is so strong that it will thrive and it will progress. The fact that competing ideologies is crushing it, that means it doesn't have the inherent mechanisms within its paradigm.
I think it's dependent on the ideology. It's dependent on the people that fuel it, whether those people have money, whether those people have time. You can have the best ideology in the world, and if you and all your friends are homeless under a tunnel somewhere, it's not going to go anywhere.
Soviet Russia, you give an example, it thrived. You give an example of how it removed illiteracy and it created jobs and so on and so forth. Yeah. So if this is what it can do, but it failed because of a competing ideology. That's what you're saying.
It failed for many reasons.
Yeah, one of the reasons.
Because of capitalism.
Sure. Right. So that means this ideology itself inherently lacks something for it to thrive. That's what we see.
No, it means that the competing.
Power could be one of them.
No, the ideology is a way of thinking. The practice, the way capitalism is implemented, the way socialism is implemented, that's what makes a difference in the world. You can have all the theory you want and write it in books, but if the American government has money to suppress ideology, it can and will.
Didn't Russia have money?
That doesn't mean capitalism.
Didn't Soviet Union have money? They had money.
The Americans had a lot more. A lot.
Seriously?
More. Yeah.
So are you saying Soviet Union, USSR at that time, did not have the financial capabilities to protect its ideology?
The American government participated in intelligence, and so did the Soviet government in intelligence all across the globe to suppress capitalism, to suppress socialism, to do this and that and whatever. Yeah, to isolate. It's not got anything actually to do with the theory of the ideology. It's the way that people take it into practice. I could say I have a capitalist ideology and then go do socialist stuff. That doesn't mean I'm a capitalist.
To give you a counterexample, Islam is an ideology as well as a religion. That ideology is thriving even with the competing ideologies, political ideologies of capitalism, socialism, or atheism. It's thriving and it's going full scale. Now,
there are many places in which it does not thrive.
I'm saying, look at it globally. In a global scale, Islamic belief system is such that it is rebutting. No, I'm talking about ideology that is thriving even against competing ideologies of capitalism, socialism, atheism, or any other isms.
Wouldn't Islam be the biggest religion in the world then? Wouldn't it be in control of all the governments? It's not.
No. What I'm saying, how does an ideology thrive if it doesn't have the mechanism the paradigm within it to sustain the ideology. Because an ideology to be convincing, it needs to have all of that. Otherwise, the ideology will crumble.
It also has to have power and money behind it. That's much more important.
I think the problem here is that we are only concentrating our discussion on the external effects, but something to be grounded in some place, we have to see whether the ideology or something is already compatible, or it fits within the psychological grounding, natural psychological grounding of human being. Otherwise, it will not thrive. If the attachment is not like a resonance with human psychology or human needs and kind of thing, then what will happen? Even if a little bit of external turbulence, it will be, destroyed or it will wash out.
So did you get it? Just to echo.
Yeah, so that is the thing. What that means, that ideology is not able to capture the human psychology as a whole in its construction. Otherwise, you can kill people, you can burn their houses, everything, but they will not lose their ideology or thinking process.
Look at what, like for example, the conflict that's happening in Gaza.
That means that
Look at their resolve and everything is going, but their ideology, they still hold to. It's okay, Alhamdulillah, you know the phrase, praise be to God. It doesn't take them away. So that means an ideology that is in line with, resonates with the human psyche is the ideology that's going to be successful. Because an ideology that considers really how you think, how you construct ideas and belief, and how you operate and interact with the society.
Yeah, I think there's something about capitalism which is very seductive to the human psyche.
Correct. That's why you will really appreciate when Islam, for example, as an ideology, it doesn't take away people's this aspirations to acquire wealth and so on. It says, yes, you can. The wealth doesn't belong to the state, like in Marxism. The wealth can belong to you, but there are some guidance and restrictions. For example, if you accumulate all this wealth, you have land and you don't do anything, it will be taken away and given to someone to really utilize it. Okay? So it will be redistributed. And not only that, more and more wealth you accumulate, the poor people will have a right on your wealth. So 2.5% of your wealth, you have to give charity to those who have right to. So you think it's my money, but actually it's not. 2.5% is something obligated to be given by right to those people who are in need and so on. So Islam really brings together this kind of people's aspirations or greed to material gain and wealth, and also the fact that you need to be also maintaining yourself within the boundary of human compassion, justice, the empathy and the sympathy all along.
That doesn't apply to all Muslim people. There's lots of Muslim people that commit harm.
Bad apples. We talked about bad apples. Bad apples. We talked about the bad apples before. So, for example, you probably have heard this famous hadith, the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Prophet said, for example, "You are not a believer. You are not a believer. You are not a believer if you go fed yourself with a full stomach and your neighbor goes hungry and starved, even though your neighbor could be anyone else, not even a Muslim, right?" So the emphasis is such that you have to even look after your neighbor. Doesn't matter what they believe and so on and so forth.
But the ideology says that, but there's lots of people that
people
say they're
don't
part of the
practice.
ideology that don't practice.
That's what we were discussing. That's what we were discussing earlier on. People don't practice, and we will say either they're culturally religious in this belief, and there are reasons for it, and we started talking about initially why that could be, or they are not prioritizing their teaching of their religion. In fact, their way of thinking has changed to something other than the religious ideological teachings. Something else. It could be something about modern understanding of happiness. As long as it doesn't harm anyone, it's okay for you to do. That seems to be the drive, isn't it? So people are attracted towards it. But we're saying no, just because it makes you happy. I mean, just because you found someone's wallet with all these credit cards and this poor guy left the PIN numbers as well, right, in the wallet because they can't remember. And you go there and withdraw all their cash. In some systems, that will make you happy. Wow, it's like winning a lottery. Yeah. But in Islam, look at the ideological difference. Every single penny or dollar, every single pence or cent, you'll have to account for in the day of judgment if you took that because it's not your money. So the greed is there, but the mechanism is there to really develop human beings into human beings of responsibility rather than greed.
There's lots of ideologies that say you shouldn't take someone's lost wallet. I mean, the ethicist Kant would say that. Socrates.
He knew about Islam anyway. He knew about Christianity and he knew about Judaism because
Socrates was
okay.
Islam wasn't invented when Socrates was.
You didn't talk about Socrates initially. You talked about Kant and others and so on. When you go back to Socrates and others, you can go and see there is something what we call is common to all human beings. Yeah, there is intuition that we all have, but we say there's something that our Creator, you may not believe in Creator or not, that's a different discussion, has instilled within us. We call fitra, the natural disposition, and God tells us like this: فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. I just quoted some statements from the Quran that God has inspired, the Creator has inspired within you the bad and the good. Whoever does good thing are the ones successful. Whoever have purified their soul, they are the ones successful, and whoever has corrupted it, they're the ones that are loser. That means we already have within us, instilled inherently within our psyche, within our makeup, that something is not good, like murder, like rape.
That's just what the existentialists say, like Albert Camus or Jean-Paul Sartre.
Yeah.
Lots of ideologies.
Yeah, where did it come from?
Yeah, not Islam.
No, where did it come from? I'm saying Islam is telling us. No, I just want to summarize this. I am not saying, just summarizing. What I'm saying is all of these common human values that we're talking about, our Creator instilled within human beings. The messengers and the prophets that comes, they rejuvenate, they re-spark and bring you to remembrance these values that God has sent within you. Otherwise, people will run like animals.
Everyone believes that. Lots of people believe that.
Islam is unique in a sense.
It's not unique.
If you want to discuss in another time, pleasure speaking to you. You take care.
It's not quite unique because
Okay, وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Sikhism, for example.